This is definitely about football.
Yes,
Last night, the Commanders and the Patriots. It's so funny, too. I see the final score, and I don't care. And I understand that the social media people who work for these teams, they have a job to do. They're trying to hype it up. Field goal. Like, I'm so glad the preseason's over because the score doesn't matter. The scoring doesn't matter. None of that stuff that will matter starting in 10 days matters in these preseason games. All that matters is get out of them healthy and get a look at some of your new players. Do they pass the eyeball test? And that's what we cared about last night. We cared about Drake Maye and also Jacoby Brissett because he got injured. He has a shoulder injury, and that could influence the final decision, at least for now, on who the quarterback is 13 days from now when they play the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, preseason goes out with a bang just with that storyline right there with Drake Maye and Jacoby Brissett. And, really one of the biggest, I think, up there, and we're going to hit a few other ones, the biggest remaining questions in the NFL right now going into regular season week 1. And the Patriots quarterback situation was one of those. It's the number 3 pick. It's Drake Maye. He looked, and they didn't play him in preseason 1. Preseason
6 snaps, preseason game 1.
Right. Preseason game 2 was better, but I think a lot of people overhyped it a little, in my opinion, is what I say. But it was better. But
you mean that long incomplete pass wasn't worth
right.
praise?
I got on McCourty for that a little bit, definitely. But there were some things to look at in that game, and we saw the athletic ability. But I still went, I don't know if Drake Maye's ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. After last night, how can you not be encouraged?
Well, you know what I saw last night? And this is the influence of hanging around you, which can either be a good influence or a bad influence, a little bit of both. That left foot was in the right spot more often.
He was mechanically much better.
He wasn't doing
that
open left
point
foot.
toe, step in the bucket, and then kind of fall out of there. The other thing too is his motion. You'll see through here, and maybe when I come back on camera, I'll show you what I do.
Run.
He's a very good athlete once he takes off. He really is. He can gain some yards that way and chew them up. But
see the left foot there?
Yeah,
left foot, right
throws
spot.
like that. We hadn't seen that yet in the preseason. So that was encouraging, let alone working the pocket the right way, right? The ball pops out of his hand. There's no doubt about that when he does it right and does it with ease. The other thing that I've been critical with him is his motion is somewhat segmented, right? And he missed the slant there, and I don't think he's going to be perfect.
What do you mean by segmented motion?
Well, he kind of has he pulls the ball away, and then it pauses for a second, and then he continues the motion. And last night it was one fluid throwing motion that all pieced together, and it just went. But if you look back at preseason game 1 and 2, sometimes he has this, and then he goes from there. And that's very hard. Think about a golf swing or anything. Let me go halfway, stop, and then go a little farther and then try to hit it. To piece that together, it's hard to be accurate consistently throughout a game or a season that way. There last night, that gave me hope to go, okay, we're turning the corner here. He might not hit the bullseye every time, but at least we're hitting, whatever the rest of the bullseye damn board is, right? He's in the general vicinity, and I think that's got to be encouraging for the Patriots and all their fans.
And he's taken coaching and he's incorporated
exactly.
it, which is
all
not
that
the easiest thing to do because when you're out there and it's live, you revert to your habits.
Exactly.
He's learning, and for all we know, they've been working on him to do this since the day he showed up.
I think so. This is one of his knocks, right?
This is the equivalent of his habit of saying "yeah" in response to every single question. I suspect they've told him to iron that out, and it takes a while for it to take, and eventually you get there, and that's what coaching is. You're trying to correct, and you keep trying to correct, and eventually it corrects.
He didn't always have this motion, so that's where it's encouraging, too, that you can correct it. You look at him early on in North Carolina in those days, right, and we've seen – hey, not just because you go to college doesn't mean you just always get better at everything, right? Sometimes you don't have the right coaches, right people to watch over you, and especially for throwers, your mechanics can kind of slowly fall apart in college if you don't have somebody there, right? Like I'd go Christian Hackenberg. I know he made headlines about the Jets last week or whatever else, but I'd go, man, your freshman year, you threw it like this. Your sophomore year, you were a little weirder. Your junior year, it was like, what? No, that's not how people throw, and it fell apart, and that can happen to players in college football. I think
that because they don't have access to them long enough to coach and drill and even spot what's going on?
Exactly. It's the lack of hours. It's the lack of – not every institution has a guy right now that can teach you how to do the right things throwing the football, right? As I've told you, Jason Garrett and I were talking about this last night, very few people in the league when I was playing could tell you anything about mechanics at all. I never had a coach that was like, hey, keep your front shoulder in, keep your weight balanced like this on your back. None of that. But now it's become such big business, and everybody's got a coach and all of that, to where there are people out there that have a clue and can fix these things. And I think you're hopefully going to see that they can get him maybe back to what his natural motion was when he got into college and get some of these bad habits that I'm alluding to here out of his game.
I mean, the first time I remember it ever being a big issue, and we've talked about this not long ago, 14 years, Tim Tebow coming out in the draft, how they've shortened his motion. Of course, when it was time for him to throw,
he can never shorten
it at all. It never did. That was just that it worked. It got him drafted in the first round, but it didn't work when it was time to go out and throw.
Okay, you have a chance to win $1 million in the NBC sweepstakes on Yahoo Fantasy. Just download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/fantasymillion for additional details. What are you waiting for?
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.